All points matter, Reese.
All points matter, Drew. Let's go. It's Super Bowl week, man.
And we're back. Took a week off for the Pro Bowl. That was for our friend Reese here, recovering from what we like to call the flu. Glad you're better. Glad we could take a week off. Didn't want to go solo. It wouldn't feel right. But glad we're back and we're jumping right in here on All Points Matter today.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Glad I'm feeling a lot better. And the NFL kind of settled itself and set itself up for a really good Super Bowl in the meantime. So I think we're in for a good one.
Absolutely. We're going to have some Super Bowl predictions, definitely getting to the betting. We'll have that in a separate video for you just so you can focus in on your gambling for the Super Bowl. We're also talking coaching carousel. We're hitting on some XFL. We're talking about Bill Belichick, A.J. Brown, and getting a little recap of our Pro Bowl weekend that isn't so pro anymore. So let's start from the top, Reese. Where are we at with this coaching carousel?
Yeah, it finally settled itself, which a couple things that we weren't exactly expecting. I think Mike McDonald becoming the favorite in Seattle kind of as things shifted and the Ravens season ended. As soon as they lost to the Chiefs last week, I mean, it took no more than 2 days for him to be interviewed in person and hired as the head coach in Seattle. Really, Dan Quinn was the favorite up until pretty much when the Ravens lost, and Ben Johnson pulling out of the running kind of shifted the entire landscape of these hirings. And Adam Schefter kind of anticipated that something was going to change at some point. He wasn't exactly sure what it was, and it ended up being Ben Johnson pulling himself out of all of them and returning to Detroit, which kind of shifted everything. And Mike McDonald was hired real quickly. Dan Quinn was then hired by the Commanders, and I think we covered Dave Canales from Carolina in the last episode. But man, those three really getting finalized was a big deal and kind of set us up going into the Super Bowl for a really exciting week where we can just focus on the game and not everything else.
Absolutely. I got to give it up to Ben Johnson, sticking with his roots, sticking with his gut. He's turning down a big move, one that could put him into a pool of head coaches. Not many people make it to be head coaches of NFL franchises. So considering that he turned that down to stay where he's at and work towards a goal that he's bought into and a lot of people under him are bought into, I just got to say props to Ben Johnson on that. It's a hard decision to make, but he must love where he's at. I know Dan Campbell has a great reputation for culture. Guys seem to love being in Detroit. I think the fans showed that they love football in Detroit, and maybe that's another reason he stayed, but you never know. Anyway, props to him.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got something as good as what they have going over in Detroit, like you've got the perfect head coach and you've got the perfect coordinators, you've got the perfect quarterback. You really kind of built the perfect team. A situation like that is kind of what you strive to achieve within an organization. And many head coaching candidates are guys that are in good organizations, but I think it's incredibly special what's going on in Detroit. And I mean, Aaron Glenn didn't really seem like he was one of the favorites for the Titans job. He didn't end up getting it. He wasn't really a major favorite for any of the others. So maybe him returning wasn't necessarily by choice, but the fact that all three of them are going to remain together, that team is going to stay together, Jared Goff is going to get paid this offseason. They've got something special. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's one of the very rare situations where it probably was better. And he's going to get to just focus on ball, and he doesn't have to worry about all the other crap that a head coach has to go through. He just gets to focus on football and that team. And I think that's a really unique situation. And he's expected to get another pay raise as well. So not only is he staying, he's getting paid more. So a perfect situation for him and his family. And that's very rare.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what they can do next season, but obviously not as excited for our Super Bowl, which let's jump into it. I know we couldn't really get into an NFL Championship Sunday recap because of our illness. Reese,
yeah, that's old news anyways.
Yeah, take it. It is old news. Just briefly touching on it. Chiefs, Ravens, 17-10. I thought the Chiefs played a good game. Their defense really showed a true championship caliber all over the place. From their secondary to up front, I thought they showed elite defense, shutting down Lamar Jackson. They really showed patience up front on that D-line, not getting upfield too much, holding Lamar in the pocket, forcing him to make throws, and clearly he could not make those throws. Definitely not just a running back, because he is in that MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes, he played the football game he needed to play. He didn't play a game that was overly exciting. We've seen Patrick Mahomes. We know what he can do, but it wasn't anything we haven't seen before. That throw to Travis Kelce, I think the first touchdown of the game, they drove down the field, bang, 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 back shoulder, which ended up being more back knee, but Travis made the play, and I thought that was just an incredible connection to start the game. That set the tone right away, and it looked like the Ravens were fighting from behind all game.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where there's a team that's been in a game like this before, and then there's the Ravens. And, like, if you would have asked us, if you would have played the first quarter and said, hey, which team has been here before and which team's the favorite to win this game, everyone would have just said, yeah, it's Kansas City. I mean, they controlled the game from the snap. And I think getting that ball, driving down the field and scoring right away, it had to have forced the Ravens to panic a little bit, because they had been the best run game in the National Football League all season long. They ran the ball 4 times. Like, they immediately tried. I don't know if it was like, hey, we're going to try to prove that Lamar's our guy, we're going to win this game through the air, or they got away from their identity, and it cost them. And then another thing, like Travis Kelce, he had been relatively a non-factor in the back half of the regular season. The second we get into the playoffs, I mean, he's proving, yeah, he probably is the greatest receiving tight end of all time, and arguably the greatest tight end period all time. He's a difference maker on the field. He has scored in every game, and he's been not just a factor. I mean, he's been the factor in all those games. And it's clear that the Chiefs team, they've been and played in these games before. The magnitude is nothing for them, and that defense is stifling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then our 49ers-Lions game, another nail-biter. 49ers 34, Lions 31. What's your take? What are your thoughts? Spitball.
You know, I don't know what it is about the 49ers getting off slow starts. They got off to a slow start against Green Bay. They got off to they were down 17 or 21. I forget what the actual deficit was in this game, but the Lions came out swinging. They were a team that left it all on the field, kind of a little bit too much. They were leaving points on the board there, which that's true to their identity. So, like, the fact that they didn't kick, it's like, you know, looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. Yeah, you kick the ball in that situation. It's, you know, you got a solid kicker. You don't have Justin Tucker, but your kicker's good enough to make that field goal, or he shouldn't be on the roster. So yeah, kick it, and then at the very least you're forcing overtime. I know the way the game ended, like, you can't look at the score and just say, oh, it was a 3-point game and they didn't kick. The one touchdown was kind of garbage time. You know, the end of the game probably would have been managed differently, so we wouldn't have been in the exact same situation. But man, the Lions came out swinging. They've gone for it on 4th down more than anybody else this year, and they got to the NFC Championship. So yeah, they've been pretty good. Dan Campbell was consistent to who he is, and that's who he's going to continue to be, and that's who he should be, because that's who they are. And they've been very good at it, except in the NFC Championship game. So yeah, that stinks. But you look at a team like the 49ers, who that stat is like, the 49ers are like 0-31 when trailing in the 4th quarter. Like, yeah, that's a pretty ridiculous stat. Back-to-back divisional round NFC Championship. They come back from 4th quarter deficits, this one being a major one, and now they're playing in the Super Bowl. So everything that we have said the 49ers can't do, they have done, and they're going to continue to do at a high level, and we're staring down an incredible Super Bowl.
Man, I'm looking forward to it more than a Super Bowl that I've looked forward to in a long time. I can't believe the Lions kind of choked it away like that. I work with a few Lions fans, and that's all they could talk about for 3-4 days. And it took till Thursday last week to get over that. And I was just like, dude, we're past it. You lost. Like, we're on the Super Bowl now. So just looking forward to a little red on red matchup, Chiefs Niners. It'll be good.
Yeah, we're staring down an all-time classic. The last one they played in 4 years ago, classic. This one's I think it's gonna deliver just as much. But we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Absolutely. Our classic segment, our next segment, what we are built around and centered on, grit. Our grit minute, our segment. This is our thing, our segment. Reese, I'll let you take away the grit minute. I know you took it first last time, but let's hear it.
Look, I don't mind setting the bar high. So, look, it is what it is. We're playing in the Super Bowl, and Brock Purdy has been receiving slander unnecessarily all year. All right, the only postseason loss in his career was a game where his UCL was torn. He couldn't even throw a football forward for 3 quarters. So, I think we got to give it a rest. He's 24-6 in his career. He's 4-1 in the postseason. Truly 4-0. I mean, you can't really count that game last year against him. He's got the best QBR. He's the most efficient quarterback in the league this year. 44 touchdowns, 15 interceptions in his career, and that's not good enough. The dude's playing in his 5th postseason game in his second year, the year after in which he was taken with the last overall pick in the entire draft. Dude is a pick away from going undrafted. So you're telling me that he's playing in the Super Bowl and you're not satisfied? Not only is he playing in the Super Bowl, he's playing in the Super Bowl after 2 fourth quarter come from behind wins. And last week, against the team of destiny, the Detroit Lions, and a really strong and aggressive defense, dude put the team on his back, had 40 rushing yards. So he's done it with his legs. He's slicing up the defense with his arm. He's making incredible throws. He's rolling the opposite direction and making pinpoint accuracy throws in the biggest games, and he's only in year 2. That's not good enough for you? I don't know what is, but he's got a chance to prove everybody wrong this week, and that's a really rare opportunity for a guy that was Mr. Irrelevant just a year ago.
That's definitely some grit there, and I don't know if I can make it to that bar that you just set. And mine's a guy who's played in Super Bowls. He's won Super Bowls. He's been injured for Super Bowls. But this isn't about Super Bowls anymore. He's got his rings. He's retired. This is a guy who is wanting to make his social media presence more and more. He's featured more and more on podcasts, in commercials, in betting. Julian Edelman. Why? Because he's grinded so much to build his platform, to make people laugh. His Randy Moss impression is like none other. I've seen those on TikTok. I've seen those on Facebook. I've seen those on Instagram. I've seen it on X. I've seen it on everything. His impersonations, his humor, his knowledge of the game, playing with Brady, his stories of Bill Belichick. It's almost like we get to see another side of Bill Belichick through Julian Edelman's eyes. And I don't know, for me, I like seeing that and seeing into a person who seems so just stoic and into football. We don't see the emotional side or the humorous side of Bill Belichick very often. So when someone as animated as Julian Edelman is, it's fun to see Bill Belichick, and that's a grit minute. I know he had a little bit of a boost there because his name's Julian Edelman and he's won Super Bowls, but still you got to put the time in, you got to put the effort in to elevate your career as a whatever you want to call it, influencer on social media. So props to Julian Edelman for going to get that, and he's a gritty guy.
Yeah, hey, props to Julian Edelman, and he is owner of one of the most magnificent and game-changing plays in the history of the Super Bowl, in which we just relived the anniversary of the 28-3 Super Bowl, where that ball was tipped about 7 different times, and he pulls it just about centimeters above the turf, and one of the most memorable drives in Super Bowl history. So, yeah, congrats to Julian. Glad he's making his way back in.
Yeah, jeez. just the incredible memories of that catch in the Super Bowl. But Bill Belichick, he's been there a few times. He's also on the coaching market still, and a lot of these vacancies are filled. Where's he going? What's he doing? Is he retiring? Is he taking a sabbatical? What are your thoughts?
Look, yeah, I mean, this is very relevant to the conversation we just had. Now, we just relived 28 to 3 day, not March 28th. We'll get to relive that here again in about a month. But look, the Atlanta Falcons had Bill Belichick. Arthur Blank, it was reported, I think Tommy Curran or maybe Diana Rossini was the first person to report that, yeah, Arthur Blank wanted to hire Bill Belichick to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. We know he had been there twice. He was the early favorite. I mean, as soon as he was, him and New England parted ways, he went down. He met with Arthur Blank in person, one-on-one. He then went back to meet with the brass, which we're assuming, we don't know for sure, is Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot. So, and then probably several others. It sounds like there is a conglomerate of people that own the Arthur Blank Sports Entertainment company, which owns the Falcons and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's a plethora of people. We're not talking about one or two people here, and that is one of those fascinating things. And the more we listen, the further away we get from the Falcons not hiring Bill Belichick. What Raheem Morris, he's probably a pretty good football coach. He's been hired to be a head coach of an NFL team. He's been a head coach of an NFL team, and he's one of the most respected defensive coordinators in the National Football League. So this conversation is he's going to take the side shots, the ricochet shots, because he was hired in place of Bill Belichick here. But this is nothing against Raheem Morris as a head coach directly. This is more of a suit and tie kind of uppity up situation that we've studied, especially as someone who's received a master's in organizational leadership. It's stuff you talk about over and over again, especially in the upper level courses. And then we're watching this play out right in front of our eyes. And, you know, look, Arthur Blank is the owner of the Falcons. If you're a billionaire and you own an NFL team, sure. You can probably hire whoever the heck you want to be the head coach. But that's not exactly what's happened. So, again, Arthur Smith was fired. They bring in Bill Belichick for a couple of interviews, and then we go for a while. It's like, oh, you know, something's not right. Like, Belichick was the clear favorite. There was one point where we all just assumed that it was formality that Bill Belichick was going to be hired to be the Falcons head coach. And then a week passes. They announce Harbaugh is going to come. They're bringing in other people to interview. And it sounds like it goes from the required interviews, and then Bill Belichick were interviewed, and then, oh, shoot, well, now everybody's coming. Vrabel's coming. Slowick is coming. Harbaugh is scheduled to come, and now Harbaugh ends up the day before he's supposed to get on the jet and fly to Atlanta for the interview. He ends up signing and becoming the head coach of the Chargers, so he is taken off the table, and then boom, they hire Raheem Morris. And it's like, dude, you know, I mean, yeah, we understand the interview. He was the interim coach there. He went and coached in the division for the Buccaneers for a while. Obviously, that didn't go very well. He was out after 3 years. So, like, why did they hire Raheem Morris? They could have hired Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time. And then we're reading the stories. And Tommy Curran did one of the best deep dives immediately right after it happens, and he reports like, yeah, Arthur Blank wanted to hire Bill Belichick, but then other people on the staff kind of got in his ear and persuaded him against it. And it's just like, wow, I can see exactly what's happening here. I don't think anyone is directly, like, Michael Lombardi is one of the most respected football analysts. Obviously, he's very close to the situation because he was the GM for Bill Belichick when they won a couple of Super Bowls. He's been in Cleveland. He's been around the block. He's one of the most decorated GMs in the history of the league. And he goes and talks about how this has become a collaborative process. It used to be the owner, and then if they had a general manager, the general manager ran the coaching interviews, especially even 5-6 years ago, this was the case. But now it's a collaborative process. We're going to bring the owner. we're going to bring in any other vice president, CEO, whoever else you have, all these other creative positions. And these are people that have now been given power within the organization. So think about it. If you already have a GM on staff and then you have a president and the owner that are going to be conducting these interviews, you're going to hire Bill Belichick. Well, shoot, how has Bill done it in New England? He was head scout, head coach, general manager. Like, he ran all these. He was the president. And there was a time where obviously Lombardi was with him, but when Lombardi was with him, Lombardi supported him, but Bill ran everything. And you look at the last couple of years with Bill Belichick in New England, and it's fine. You know, he hasn't been as good. He hasn't been as good as you would want him to be, but he's still the winningest coach of all time. He's 333 and 178 in his career record. What was Raheem Morris? 21 and 38. Who's the better football coach? I mean, if you ask anybody around the league right now, who's the best football coach in the history of the National Football League, you're not going to hear Vince Lombardi. It's not going to be Bill Parcells or Bill Walsh. It's going to be Bill Belichick. You could have hired him, but instead of hiring him, all these people in this collaborative process, they didn't want to hire him because guess what? If you hire Bill Belichick, oh, well, I'm out of a job. I just hired myself out of a job. So Bill Belichick was who they wanted, and then this brass persuades them. Shoot, well, Harbaugh just got hired, so he was the easy up. Like, we were flying him in tomorrow. We were going to interview him tomorrow. We were going to give him the job. Great. I still have my job. We've got a good head coach. No one's going to question me. No, that's not what it was. Poor Raheem Morris is now, shoot, like, all right, well, everybody loves Raheem. Arthur loves Raheem. All right, let's convince him that Raheem is the right candidate. I think that's what happened. They all get in his ear and say, hey, we got to find anybody else to coach this football team. But if they hired Bill, we're all gone. None of us have jobs. We're all fired. Shoot, we don't deserve it. We won 21 games in the last 3 years. We don't deserve to be here. Sure, we've got a couple of good players on the field, but look, we sucked. And Bill knows that. Bill knows football better than anyone. So if he comes in here and gets this job, we're all fired. So I think they powwowed together and said, hey, who does Arthur love as a person? Who can we go hire? Like, is anybody out there that we can talk him into super easily? Raheem Morris. And Raheem's a great dude. He's a decorated coordinator. He's not been a good head football coach. He hasn't. He was 4-7 in his tenure as the interim head coach for the Falcons. That's where that relationship's been developed. He went into the division 21 and 38. He was fired in 3 years. Like, he's not a bad football coach, but being a head football coach is more than just coaching football. It's being the CEO. It's being the president. It's being the general manager of an organization. They could have had a guy that's 14 wins away from being the greatest, most winningest head coach of all time, undisputed. Instead, they went with a guy that's got a losing record in his career as a head coach. And the Falcons aren't the only ones that are guilty of this. Every other organization, probably outside of the Chargers, is guilty of this, because if the GM was involved in the hiring process, guess who they didn't want to interview? They didn't want to interview Bill Belichick, because if he comes in and gets hired, that GM either is not going to have as much power, he's going to want to win his way, or that GM is going to be gone, because Bill is, I don't want to say Jesus of the football world, but sure, like he's the alpha, and the organization's going to be run his way, as it probably should, because nobody else in this league has won as much as he has at the level and at the rate that he has. But man, it's a situation where people don't want to hire themselves out of their jobs, and I guess you can't blame them for it. But if you're talking like who's are the 32 best coaches in the National Football League, Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, and the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, are three coaches that would operate an organization in that manner, and none of them have jobs.
That blows my mind. Every time I hear those three names, I'm just baffled they don't have jobs. And maybe they take a year off and refresh and see what opens up next year. But just overall, it seems like buffoonery that they're not signed. Just knowing what I've known my whole life watching the NFL, these guys are staples. These are NFL names that need to be on a roster somewhere. They need to be in a coaching position somewhere. And to me, it doesn't make sense. But I know they're getting old. Not Vrabel, but I know Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick are a little older. Maybe they're deemed old school. I don't know. I like what you brought up about the job point as well. If you bring in Bill Belichick, you're getting rid of a GM, getting rid of a president, or having them take a back seat to what Bill Belichick's doing. And I don't know where that looks up. But speaking of Vrabel, down in Tennessee, former Tennessee, now Philadelphia, there's a little dilemma involving an individual who catches balls.
Yeah, and he does it extremely well. He's one of the best receivers in the National Football League. And this is A.J. Brown. So we got a little bit of a Twitter kerfuffle. A lot of people who weren't exactly thrilled that this was being brought up, but people don't understand the way that the league works, and they don't understand the way that a culture works and the way that an organization works. So someone was like, dude, we could solve world hunger by planting. There's enough space to solve world hunger and plant food in between your ear holes. So I was like, well, look at the situation. So it's Ben Albrecht, he's a really respected, he's a respected analyst. And he's a great reporter. So, but he tweeted out that someone in the Eagles organization had told him, we have not thought about trading A.J. Brown. We're not going to, and we never would think about trading A.J. Brown. But that's not exactly the way that things are planning out. And you have to think about it, right? Like, you're not going to ask Nick Sirianni or Howie Roseman, like, hey, are you guys trading A.J. Brown? Like, they're not going to come out and say, oh, yeah, we're trading A.J. Brown. Come and get him. Because guess what? They lose all leverage. So, of course, they're going to say, yeah, we're not trading A.J. Brown. But this didn't come from nowhere. And so let's you just look at the evidence on the table. He's clearly disgruntled. He deleted his Twitter account. He took everything Eagles related off of his Instagram account. And we've seen this act before in the time frame between then and when they leave the organization, they demand a trade. So we've seen players do this and it gets resolved, and we've seen players do this and they're out pretty quickly. Jamal Adams is an example of a player that did this and was gone. And Kyler Murray most recently did this. Lamar Jackson most recently did this. And they returned to their organization. So, yeah, they're disgruntled. Now, the thing about those guys is those are contract disputes. This isn't a contract dispute. This team finished 1-6 down the stretch with a blowout loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. They were 10-1 beforehand. And during this stretch, you look at the sideline, and I got to learn to use the 150 Twitter characters, or I got to just pull out the big bucks and just get Twitter Premium or whatever, where you have an unlimited the amount of letters to type, because I refer to those as side shots, and people didn't have enough of a brain to figure out that it's the clips on the sideline. That, or they probably don't even watch football, so they didn't really understand it. So yeah, A.J. Brown and Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, they weren't exactly getting along on the sideline. A.J. Brown was clearly visibly distraught on the sideline. And A.J. Brown's one of the best receivers in football. So they're in a dilemma. It's not like Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson and Chase Claypool earlier this year, they were throwing temper tantrums on the sideline. Let's get those guys out of here. They stink. They're not worth the trouble. A.J. Brown is a player that I don't think you should ever look at a guy and say, oh, they're worth the trouble, because it's faulty team process at some point. Guys like Bill Belichick, they don't deal with that. Those guys are gone. But the Eagles, obviously, are probably in a spot where they're going to potentially have to decide, is A.J. Brown's on-field production worth the frustration? Or maybe he's not the problem. He's reacting to the problem. I don't know what the deal is. But they're going to have to figure it out, because obviously he's one of the most productive receivers on the field, but at the same time, he could be worth a first-round pick. Now, the DeAndre Hopkins trade a couple of years ago from the Texans to the Cardinals, that would probably be the baseline for this trade. And I don't remember what the trade package was for that deal, but it wasn't very good. So I think they ended up giving up a second round pick, maybe a fourth round pick. I don't know what the deal was, but it wasn't that great. But AJ Brown's one of the best receivers in football, and he's perfect for their scheme. So it's going to be very difficult for them to trade him. They would probably have to create a bidding war. But my point being, they're not going to openly say, "Oh yeah, we're trading AJ Brown," because then they don't get any leverage. And AJ Brown, to wrap this up, was asked about this on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams the other day, and he said, maybe they know something I don't. I've kind of been through this before. I'm a vet. I'll remain quiet. If something happens, I'll be waiting by my phone. I'll be waiting right there by the phone. If not, I'll be right here in Philadelphia. So he kind of denied it, but at the same time, if it happens, I'll be right there by my phone. I think it's not like, oh yeah, they're trading him. They're not going to say that, so we're not going to be in a situation where we get that. The combine's going to come here in a couple of weeks, and I guarantee Howie Roseman's going to be asked by probably 30 teams about it. We know some teams don't want to win, so they actually might not ask him because they went and hired less qualified head coaches. But so maybe not everybody's dedicated to winning at the same level, so maybe 15 teams might ask. But there are going to be plenty of teams asking the Eagles, hey, what do you want for AJ Brown? And the two favorites right now are the Texans and the Colts. And obviously the Colts have that connection with Shane Steichen, who's coaching in Philadelphia just a couple of years ago. And they've got Michael Pittman. They're in need of a receiver. They've got a quarterback. They've got a running back. They've got a pretty solid defensive front. Like, they're a couple pieces away from being a really dang good Super Bowl contending football team. And AJ Brown would make that better. And I guarantee that Chris Ballard would slide over a second or third round pick to the Eagles in exchange for a team like that. So whether or not he is up for trade, that might stir itself up here at the combine in a couple of weeks when all these teams are together. And look, not saying he is available for trade, but I think there's more than enough evidence to point like, oh, we can't just not look at this and think, well, they're not going to trade him. Where there's smoke, there's fire, especially in a situation like this.
So basically what I took away from that is AJ Brown's going to be a Colt next year, and the Colts might be Super Bowl
sure hope so.
Next year.
Come to Indianapolis, dude. We would take you in a heartbeat. Hey, I would give all my fantasy draft picks for the Colts to get AJ Brown out. I don't know if that's going to be quite enough, but realistically speaking, the Colts have the capital to do so. They got $70 million of cap space. I think that sets them in anywhere between the fourth and sixth most in the league. Him, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Anthony Richardson, Jelani Woods, and Daniel Jeremiah mocked this Brock Bowers. We'll put Brock Bowers in there too. Like that's an offense that has the potential to be like explosive. And let's send him to Indianapolis.
Well, I'm happy for you in the future if that comes to be. I'm hopeful for you, even though I don't want your team to do the winning. But let's jump into this Pro Bowl recap. I honestly did not watch it. I saw some of it on social media. The snapping competition I thought was dumb. I thought the punt receiving competition was okay. That one catch between the leg where he put the ball between his legs and caught it. I thought that was kind of cool. The throwing competition this year was There wasn't big enough names in it for me to just sit down and watch the whole thing. I saw C.J. Stroud's round. I saw Baker Mayfield's round. And I think Gardner Minshew's round. I saw those three. And I really wasn't that into it. But maybe there's a way we make this Pro Bowl format work. We kind of talked about solutions for this a little bit ago, but I liked what you had to say, Reese, about some of these solutions. What are they?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on watching any of the Pro Bowl either. I did enjoy seeing some of the stuff in, the Twitter on the Twitter feed. But yeah, it was the first Sunday about football. So I don't know what your Sunday morning was like, but I got home from church and like well, shoot, we've got another like 12 hours before I even think about going to bed. So, like, what am I supposed to do? There's nothing on. So I tweeted it out, and I was like, well, I had zero plans of watching the Pro Bowl. Didn't really want to watch the Pro Bowl just because kind of like I enjoy being like, this is ridiculous. Let's play a real football game, or let's figure it out something. But I ended up turning on and watching it. And the first thing that was going on when I turned it on was the best catch. All right, so it was it's not even live. All right, they've got some of these things like, I don't know if dodgeball might have been live, the quarterback carousel thing might have been live, but like the closest to the pin challenge was pre-recorded. Like, and the best catch thing, like, not bad idea. So I think they're going in the right direction. They got things going, but they did the best catch thing. So they show Puka doing his water ski thing, catching the ball, and then David Njoku jumping in the pool. He doesn't catch it. And I understand that the format is like, you've got like 45 seconds or whatever, or 3 tries to catch the ball. And if you don't, it's whatever. Well, Puka caught it, and Njoku didn't. And then they go to a shot live on the field at the Pro Bowl, which actually there was 50,000 people there. So it was a pretty full thing. So they made money doing that. So props to them. But why are we doing a live vote on the field for who had the best catch? It's like, you should raise Puka's hand. Cheer if you want Puka to win. All right, raise David Njoku's hand. Cheer if you want David Njoku didn't even catch the ball. So why are we hyping up the crowd, trying to get people to and people cheered, like, obviously, like, you got to make it not awkward. So yeah, David, great job, dude, great job. He didn't even catch the ball. Why are we voting if he won the best catch? So they're putting these players into pretty awkward situations, and like, I think what they got to do is, it's a whole week thing. So this night we're doing closest to the pin. We're doing dodgeball. Let the players wear mics. Let us hang out with these guys. Let's not do these pre-recorded. The pre-recorded stuff is really cheesy. Great idea, horrible execution. The game itself, where they split it up and do things in between, actually ended up being fairly entertaining. Kept the big man involved in the big man challenges. Now we got a problem that the NFC is going to just wipe the floor with the AFC. And the AFC dominated the football game, but the NFC stayed alive because of that challenge. So I think it made it interesting. It was fun. It actually was, which I wasn't exactly anticipating. And I was going into it as a skeptic, and it kind of won me over as we were going. But like, at the same time, I think the NHL, they just had their All-Star thing too, and I think those players got paid like $1 million if they won. So like,
yeah,
look, I love Gardner Minshew, but Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson need to pay those guys $1 million, put him there, and like Gardner Minshew's great, but the Pro Bowl needs to have some honor to it. And like, I love Gardner, but you're a backup quarterback who was on a team that didn't make the playoffs. You shouldn't be in the Pro Bowl. But he did a great job. I think he was perfect and scored 2 touchdowns. So maybe I'm wrong.
Absolutely. It kind of reminds me of an NBA skills contest, 3-point contest, dunk contest. Reminds me of the MLB home run derby. Very similar vibes. People are compensated for their victories in an all-star game setting. Like a home run derby, you get $1 million, you get a trophy, and like, you get the recognition for winning this thing. And other people, who cares about winning a snap contest? What is that? What is the NFL's product going to be to keep people invested in the Pro Bowl? And another thing, I'm a pretty big golf fan. I follow golf pretty regularly. I watch most weekend rounds of a golf tournament, especially in the spring when football's over. And in this time right now, we've got the Phoenix Open. We got the Masters coming in April. We have a lot of big events. We have Live Golf, a lot of stuff going on. We'll touch that way down the road. But we had the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. What message is it sending when Josh Allen is showing up to play this Pebble Beach Pro-Am when there's a Pro Bowl going on the other side of the country that he is completely eligible to play in? Imagine this. What if we had Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes if he wasn't in the Super Bowl, and Anthony Richardson? Who can throw the ball the farthest?
Yeah, that that look, I'm just gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna guess that the Pebble Beach Pro Am outbid the NFL for Josh Allen. Like,
Yeah, it did.
I love Josh. I love Gardner Minshew, but like Josh Allen should be playing in the Pro Bowl. Like the best quarterback we had on the AFC side was Tua. I'm like, love Tua. Tua, you're not a top 4 AFC quarterback right now. Like it's
Right.
like CJ Stroud is electric. He probably deserves to be there. Actually, he's pretty special. But like, we've got to get these guys in there, and I think you got to make them want to be there. But you were talking about that, and it reminded me of what's the Capital One thing that they do where they go play golf, and those guys are mic'd up. You just sit there. Yeah, the match. All of these little like dodgeball and closest to the pin and the long snap and the quarterback carousel. Let's mic those guys up. Take it. You don't even need a commentator. Like, just let us be there with those guys. Let's let them see them. Like, they're freak athletes. Let's watch them do freak athlete things. Let's act like we're hanging out with them, or like what the ESPN does with the MegaCast, the Pat McAfee show. Like, throw those guys in there, and let's go for a ride. Throw Kirk Herbstreit and Ben in a golf cart with these guys. Let's go for the route. Like,
yeah. Guys at the home run derby, they're mic'd up on the sideline cheering for their guy that's on their team they played with in the past to go hit 25 bombs in 5 minutes or whatever it is. NBA, same thing in the NBA. The whole court is lined with people during the dunk contest, during the 3-point contest, during the skills challenge. Like, all of that, what is the NFL doing to get the attraction? Like, find an idea. Maybe they're kind of doing that, sorting it out. But I don't think the Pro Bowl is what it was, and I think they're in a transitional period where they really got to figure out something that's going to be beneficial, something that's going to catch the eye of the public, something that's going to gain attention from the fans, from people that don't watch football all the time, but more importantly, the players that are in their league. And not only the players, but the top players in their league. When you have guys going to play golf over going to a Pro Bowl in the sport they play and make millions of dollars doing, you have something fundamentally wrong, and you have to change it.
But I think that's just it. I think we just solved it's money. It's money.
Yep.
If Josh Allen was getting paid more to do that than to be at the Pro Bowl. So, look, I'm no genius here, but Roger Goodell said in his press conference yesterday at the Super Bowl opening ceremony, they expect 200 million people in America. Our population is like 340 million people. That's 2/3. 2/3 of the country is going to be watching the Super Bowl. There is no shortage of money. There's no shortage of money. And I figured out whatever that money is. I don't know if it's $1 million. I don't know if it's $2 million. They've got smart people. They got guys like Drew Rosenhaus and whoever Deshaun Watson's agent is. We need to have him come in here and negotiate this because that was a great.
Excuse you.
Great deal. Yeah, I'm getting worked up over here, but that was a great deal for Deshaun. We need a deal like that. We need that kind of player-friendly agent negotiating for the players' contract for the Pro Bowl because I think that would solve everything. What that $240 million guarantee that Deshaun Watson has not lived up to. We need that kind of money in the Pro Bowl for those players that are playing to keep Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and whoever's not playing, like Patrick Mahomes. If history, the best predictor of future success and past performance, he's going to keep on playing in the Super Bowl. Unless Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud can dethrone that guy. Like, so Pat will probably never be in the Pro Bowl. Brock Purdy might never be in the Pro Bowl at this rate. So those guys, everybody else, they're going to be playing in the Pro Bowl. We got to get them there with that kind of money. So I think money's the problem. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Absolutely. So it goes Pro Bowl week after our divisional Sunday, and we get into something way bigger. Maybe one of the most dead weeks of the NFL season to absolutely the most exciting Sunday in all of football, the Super Bowl. And we're going to jump into that right now. Super Bowl 58. I suck at Roman numerals, but we're jumping into this. We're going to
I learned Roman numerals by the Super Bowl by the Super Bowl numbers. I
I
mean,
did-
the first Super Bowl I remember was Super Bowl 38. So I didn't. I just knew VII was 8, and then you just kind of backtracked from there. And so
Yeah.
my 7-year-old self kind of learned
love-
Roman. Is this Latin? Are these Latin letters? I learned Latin based on the Super Bowl. So thanks NFL for making me a smarter person.
Yeah, shout out.
Shout out.
Super Bowl 58, the line comes out. 49ers are favored by 2. We are closer to the West Coast. Maybe some of the West Coast fans will travel. But Kansas City, they're adding flights from Kansas City to Vegas. So
About that.
maybe that's going to level the playing field. Maybe people are rooting for this Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift fandom explosion. Maybe we're pulling for the underdog in Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. What are we looking for? I don't know. Our over-under set at 47.5. That's just a Vegas knowing more than we know. These are going to be some tough picks this week with 2 outstanding defenses, 2 outstanding quarterbacks, maybe some of the best coaches we've ever seen in football, aside from Bill Belichick. Andy Reid might have better culture than Bill Belichick, and Kyle Shanahan might have one of the best offensive brains that's ever graced this league. So just going to be a crazy, crazy week of football. Media week's already started. We're already getting into these things. But, Reese, let's go ahead and pick our spreads. Or are we going to hold off on that for right now?
I'm going back and forth as we speak, so I think we need to work through the mental process, and I think by the time we get to the end of it, I'll finally kind of have it figured out. But I think I know where I'm leaning, but I don't know. Are you locked in? You already know what you're doing?
I'm locked in and ready to go, my friend.
No, you're a better man than I am. But Drew, what are your thoughts, man? What has you so sold?
Well, I don't want to say this in a negative way. Brock Purdy.
Are you about to slander the man that we just talked about not slandering?
I'm not going to slander the man. I'm going to praise the other side.
I mean, you're walking on thin ice here, but go ahead.
The eggshells are on the floor, and I'm walking on them. Okay, and I might crack them.
If you stay getting, I'm not getting you. I'm gonna keep swinging at you if you start the Brock Purdy slander. But go ahead, walk on thin ice, buddy.
Chiefs +2, +1.5, whatever we're at, I'm going for it. Chiefs have the playoff experience. Andy Reid has proven it time and time again as a head coach. Travis Kelce steps up in the playoffs. Their defense shut down the MVP, a quarterback, once again, maybe who can't throw as well as Brock Purdy. Once again, praising Brock Purdy there, saying that he can play football. But I know he's 4-1, basically 4-0 in playoffs. Brock Purdy is. Are the nerves finally going to get to him? I know he's unshakable. I know he's rooted. I know he's confident in who he is as a person, player, now fiance, son, all of this stuff. He's rooted in who he is. But I have a feeling that this moment might be a little bit too big for him. He just proposed to his girlfriend, got engaged. I think he's looking for the storybook ending. Time. They have weapons that can slow down Debo, that can slow down Kittle, that can get to Purdy. I'm just sold on that. I think Purdy could play a good game, and we're going to get to more of these bets that involve Brock Purdy for me, and they might not be in the best sense. Just being honest, but I have Chiefs +2, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd go ahead and pick Chiefs +3.5 if I could. Or no, Chiefs -3.5 if I could.
That's the more I think about it, that's quite honestly kind of where I've been leaning this whole time. So look, you didn't take unreasonable slacks at Brock Purdy, so I respect that. here's what I find just from a betting perspective incredibly interesting. The books, their goal is to keep the money as 50-50 as possible. That way, no matter what, they're not recording a major loss. They're probably more likely than not getting a win. But 78% of the money right now is on the Chiefs at +2.5. So, or I think it's what are we at? What's the live odds right now? Well, it's at +2, so it hasn't shifted since we started. So the line is at +2 with Kansas City. What does that tell us if they haven't shifted line? It means the books are heavily, heavily in favor of the 49ers. So, like, I feel very like the Chiefs have been underdogs in all of these games up until this point, and they've been the better team on the field every single week, which is ridiculous because they stumbled to the finish line at the end of the regular season. They stumbled. Shoot, negative 30 degrees, rejuvenate. They beat the snot out of the Dolphins. They go on the road, win a game they shouldn't probably win in Buffalo, and then they beat the snot out of the number 1 seed, one of the best teams, at least for sure one of the best regular season teams we've ever seen. I mean, it was like the 2009 Colts, the 2007 Patriots. Like, this team was a wagon all year. They go in to Baltimore from the opening kickoff. Before the opening kickoff, Travis Kelce is bullying these guys from when they walked into the city to when they left. They dominated from start to finish. I mean, this Chiefs team they've been here, they've done that. They were America's sweethearts 4 years ago. They're the bullies now. They're the villains. And they're going to walk into Vegas as a team that they lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago to Tom Brady. And now they're back.
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that has played. Patrick Mahomes has played in 16 postseason games. He's like 14-2, 14. Like, his record's ridiculous in the postseason. Like, they're going to be unflappable. And as much as we love the 49ers, who, for the majority of these guys have been here, and like George Kittle's been here, Deebo Samuel's been here, Christian McCaffrey has never played in a game of this magnitude, but he's a veteran player. Kyle Juszczyk has been here before. Nick Bosa's been here before. Like, they're a veteran team too, so I don't want to look too far past it. But if we look about the team that has proven us wrong, like, I bet against the Chiefs. So I thought the Bills were going to be able to outscore them. I bet against this offense, really. I love Patrick Mahomes, but, like, Travis Kelce, he stumbled to the finish line in the regular season too. Friendly reminder, Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He scored in every postseason game, and he hasn't just scored in every postseason. He has dominated in every postseason game. Patrick Mahomes is, like, it's hard to watch him play football right now and not, he might already be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. Like, longevity is kind of like what we have unofficially decided to be the deciding factor in that. But, like, if you're giving me one guy to win one game, how do I not pick Patrick Mahomes right now? So, like, yeah, the 49ers, the matchup of the teams is going to be fascinating too, because we have the most explosive offense. The 49ers are number 1 in yards per play still, with more games being played. Like, they average 6.5 yards a play, 5.7 in the last 3 weeks. Oh, by the way, they played the Lions, Packers, and Ravens in their last 3 games where they played the starters. Week 18, they played the Rams, and the starters didn't play that game, so we're not going to count that one. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Who have the Chiefs played? Because they're the number 2 in points per game allowed. So, sure, you might be able to get some yards. They're 9th in the league in yards per play, averaging 5.5. So the 49ers are probably going to be able to move the ball, but it's a bend and don't break. They're number 2 in points per game allowed, and they're doing even better. They number 2 overall in the league with 16.8 points allowed per game. And their last 3 games, mind you, this is the Ravens, one of the best offenses we've seen. The Bills, one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And the Dolphins, the highest scoring offense in the league. 13.7 points per game against this defense. Like, Sure, you might be able to move the ball, but bend don't break, baby. That's Steve Spagnuolo. They're going to be bringing pressure. They're going to bring a lot of pressure. Now, Brock Purdy and the Kyle Shanahan offense is kind of designed and pretty well to handle that because there's going to be a lot of motion, so there's going to be a lot of pre-snap decision making going on. So they're going to set themselves up pre-snap where it's catch. I'm reading one guy, reading one step, throw. He's going to get the ball out quick. So I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to get a lot of sacks or a lot of pressure. Force, especially if it's a close game, they're going to kind of be able to reel it in and kind of do their thing where they're going to run the ball really well, and it's going to be dink and dunk down the field, boom, shot over the top.
Boom.
But if you're talking about this, if it comes down to, hey, one of these defenses has to make a play, this defense is going to be the one that makes the play. So I love the 49ers. I think they're going to do well. I think the Chiefs are going to do better. I think they got the better defense. And look, I love Brock Purdy, but I think Chiefs have the better quarterback. And I'm done betting against the Chiefs. Like, by the way, the Chiefs are dogs. So I'll take them at +2. Like, sure. Yeah. Give me Patrick Mahomes. Give me 2 buffer points. Yeah. I would take the Chiefs outright too, probably, the more I think about it.
All right.
So, Drew, I think we're going to be riding along this together.
Honestly,
tell me about the best prop bet you can find. Or what was your thought about the game?
What now?
What were you just about to say?
I said I was honestly not expecting that out of you. I thought you were going 49ers minus like
I
7.
tried to talk myself into the Niners. Like, this is just like the Lions game. Like, shoot, I'm going to root for the Lions. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think this week I'm going to root for whoever has the football because I want every point to be scored. I would love for this to be a 50-60 game, 60-60. Every point, all points. I want them all scored in the Super Bowl. I don't look. I'm not an offensive guy, anyways. I don't care if there's a guy that doesn't. I don't care if a tackle is made. I want every point to be scored. But you can't go get Patrick Mahomes. Not in a Super Bowl.
Right.
I can't do it. I've done it twice already. It's against my rules. Like, the better quarterback is always like a +5 on when you lay out the stats and like kind of like, okay, better offense, point, better defense, point, best receiver, better quarterback, +5 points.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback in all those games that were being played. Should have known.
Yep. So Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, quarterback debate. This kind of brings in my over of the week.
Yeah, screw you for this one, but I think I can get behind it.
This might be slander to you. Frankly, I don't care. I don't.
It makes sense. I mean, it does.
And maybe you'll grow to like this over of the week. Brock Purdy over 0.5 interceptions. Chiefs pick him off. I'm going to go third quarter interception, late third quarter interception. I'm not betting on the time of that interception. I'm just saying over 5 interceptions for Brock Purdy, and that's going to be my over of the week.
Yeah. Look, they're going to throw the ball. That's who they are. All right. This defense is going to be, and this is one of the best defenses. Spags loves the pressure. I think he's over a 60% pressure rate on a general basis from a game-to-game basis. Pressuring over 60% of the time, yet you're going to force something or you're going to bait something pre-snap to where, oh, I've seen this blitz, this guy's showing, I'm gonna throw it right behind him, and then that's where you're looking at one coverage pre-snap. They quickly shift to a post-snap, and you're mid-throw, and like it's too late to pull it back. So yeah, that's what teams that pressure you. That's the kind of the Pandora's box is what I was looking for. That's the Pandora's box. Like, you're going to get them, but you're also going to get got, but you're also going to get them. Like, you're going to get the sack. You're probably going to give up a score at some point. We're going to give up an explosive play or a couple, but you're also going to get one. You're going to get a turnover. So that's the win-loss ratio. So the Chiefs have gotten an interception. They've had multiple games with multiple picks, but they've gotten a pick in 8 games or 9 games this year. So all the stops are going to be pulled out. That pressure rate's going to be extremely high, especially against, like, you're trying to stuff the run. So, yeah, like they're probably going to give up some explosive plays. So, yeah, take the over on Jawan Jennings, take the over on Debo Samuel, but also like the over. You only have to get one pick. You don't have to get two. They're going to get one.
I love it. I love it. And Reese, I hear your over also involves Brock Purdy. Let's hear it.
Yeah, look, I'm done with this Brock Purdy slander. Although I think like it makes sense. Like if you throw an interception, you're not a bad quarterback. If you're throwing 30 a year like Jameis Winston, you kind of got problems. So no, this over much more reasonable, and it's more of a recency bias kind of leading me to this. But it's Brock Purdy over 12.5 rushing yards. He he could very well pull this off in one play because in the last two games when they get down, look, he's gonna try to put the team on his back even more. And last week he ran for 14. Check the over right there. Or that was in the previous game. So against Green Bay, he ran for 14 on a scramble. Check. And last week he had 5 attempts for 48 yards. So yeah, that's destroying the over. So there's gonna be a point in time where look, they blitz over 60% of the time. He's gonna have to scramble at some point. Give him the 12, give him 13 yards, man. That's one play. One play he can pick that up. It's like Odell Beckham. Oh, gee whiz. The over for Odell Beckham was what, 20 yards, 22 yards last week?
Yeah,
20. He picked that up in 3 targets. Like 2 catches and 3 targets. He picked that up in the third. I don't know where he was. I don't know. They were going to launch that ball all over they only ran the ball 4 times with Gus Edwards. I think is the stat. It was ridiculous. You're going to throw that thing all over the yard. You're not going to have Odell Beckham, one of the best primetime players, big game players, one of the most talented receivers in the league on the field until the third quarter. Are you kidding me? And he picked it up in 3 targets? Yeah, Ravens deserve to lose, but check. This is very similar to like that. Brock Purdy can pick this up in one play. He's going to play 4 quarters. So hopefully.
I bet he picks that one up on a scramble. He's looking for somebody. There's no one, but the defense has dropped down. Maybe it's a third and 12, 3rd and 11. They drop into coverage a little high 4, and he's just got 12 yards right there.
Yeah, go pick it up with your feet or let George Karlaftis eat your lunch. Yeah, he's going to go pick up the 13. He's a sneaky athletic guy. Like people give him hate. He looks like the average white guy that bought all of his clothes with the Kohl's cash. Like we've seen all the memes. Dude's a freak athlete, all right? He's a dog. He can throw it. He can sling it. Dude's an athlete, too. He can pick that up with his feet. He's going to do it on the biggest stage. 12.5 yards is all he has to get? Heck, yes.
And
check mark. I love it.
Maybe even a quarterback sneak touchdown. I know they got CMC back there. You never know. But
I'm not going to bet on the anytime touchdown for Brock, but I will for Christian. That's the easiest. That's a no-brainer. We're going to ride that every week for the rest of ever. What else do you like, Drew?
Fantastic segue into our anytime touchdowns of the week. You can parlay these. We don't necessarily. I might parlay these just for fun.
We might not take all of these, but these are all pretty dang good options here.
These are picks we love. I'll probably sprinkle a little bit of these the rest of the week. You mentioned Christian McCaffrey, minus 210 for the Super Bowl. That's better than last week, minus 330 or 350 last week. On the other side of the ball, Isaiah Pacheco, minus 120. All right. And then back with the Niners, we got Debo Samuel. Reese, what's your last pick there?
Yeah, Debo Samuel is kind of like he hasn't scored in the postseason yet, which kind of like breaks my heart. But if you look at like Christian McCaffrey he's the rule breaker. Like we're gonna ride Christian McCaffrey as long as he's in the National Football League because he is the biggest touchdown machine we might have ever seen. All right. But Debo Samuel is the dual threat. Like he's a gadget player. He's a running back that plays receiver, and he's a receiver that plays running back. Like he's going to get the ball both ways. I think 80 per. The stat I think is skewed because he has multiple games. It was 80. He's an 80% touchdown scorer. I don't think that's true. I think it's truly a 50-50. And in the games that he's played, he's scored eight games with a touchdown, 8 games without a touchdown. So It's not a perfect stat, but like if uh, you increase the odds because he's going to get a handoff. And he was like 2 yards short last week. It broke my heart. He didn't score, and then I think Elijah Mitchell got it on the next play. So I'm pretty sad there. But like, yeah, Debo Samuel, that you're gonna be able to ride that game all the way through the game, and then Travis Kelsey's also like, if they're gonna win, Travis is gonna score. Travis has scored in every postseason game. He obviously like, but the Chiefs stunk the entire second half of the season. They crawled to the finish line. So like, you can't really take those games when the Chiefs are winning. Travis Kelsey's scoring, and it's the biggest game and the biggest show. Like, Travis is going to be fed the rock. They're going to live or die with Travis Kelsey, and they've lived thus far, and they're going to go down swinging no matter what Travis Kelsey's going to score. So
Absolutely.
I will be throwing Travis Kelsey in. I will be throwing Christian McCaffrey in a parlay. That's a no-brainer. I don't know if I'm going to parlay the other. I probably will, because why not? It's the Super Bowl, and if both teams are going to win, both these guys are going to score. So yeah, you know what? Mark me down for all these. I'm going to be throwing them all. And I might have just talked myself into it. I might be riding the high, but there's legitimate logic. Don't be throwing Kyle Juszczyk in here. Like, we're not being crazy with it. These are all reasonable touchdowns, but
We're trying to make you money and simple money.
Yeah,
We're simple. You put these together in a parlay, you might see great value. That's tempting. I'm probably going to do a little sprinkle on that, but I'm probably going to throw these in straight too, just so I have some feedback, some hedging there. That's
the way to do it. Put $1 on all of them, and then maybe $3 in that parlay, because that'll punch out like $80.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna throw it together right now. I'm gonna see if you did it this very second on DraftKings.
I'll go through some of our other best bets while you're putting that together. We're going some novelty props on DraftKings. Our Gatorade color, we got
no brainer.
What? No brainer. We got 2 red teams out here. It's almost a no-brainer to go with red at plus 350. That is exceptional value for that. So Reese and I are both on the red train moving forward. Also, transitioning away from those novelty bets, missed field goal or extra point was minus 130. Considering Jake Moody's recent slump, very similar to John Lester's yips in baseball or a golf slump, right? Rory McIlroy couldn't hit a draw for his life or switch to a fade because he was struggling there. Same deal. Jake Moody's stuck in that, so jump on our train. Field goal or extra point missed. Also, another no-brainer was both teams to score 1+ rushing touchdowns was at plus 125. Yeah. That's double your money. You put $1 on that, you get more than $1 back. That's crazy to me. For both for a running touchdown, you've got Pacheco and you've got Christian McCaffrey. You have Patrick Mahomes who could rush it in as well. That's the crazy.
Brock Purdy with the over 12.5. Let's say he's got 10 yards, goes on a 3-yard touchdown scamper. Boom, you check both off the list, baby. Let's go.
Little naked boot.
Yeah, we love Brock Purdy around here. Drew doesn't, but I do. And,
I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. Next was Brock Purdy over 1.5 passing touchdowns, valued at minus 135. He clearly has the weapons for this. George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield.
Brandon Ayuk off somebody else's face mask. Like, we get all the options are endless here.
Absolutely. Options are endless there. I think that's just a stellar over for the Super Bowl. Same for Patrick Mahomes at 1.5. That's valued at minus 160. Patrick Mahomes has been killing it. He steps up in big games. Travis Kelsey is going to want the football. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis Kelsey got 2 of those.
Yeah, last week.
Touchdown. I would not be surprised one bit, especially if Taylor's there. He's going to ball out if his lady's there. And then lastly, might be a shocker, Juwan Jennings over 14.5 receiving yards at minus 115. I know this is kind of a sneaky something that we might not see. Juwan Jennings over 14 yards, but hey,
yeah, it's one play. I love these ones where like you can ride this to the fourth quarter. Like if you If you're taking Travis Kelce over under, I think it's over at 76. I think it's 76.5 is the line. It probably depends on what book you're looking at, but like 76 yards, if you don't have that going, if you don't have 30 yards going into the fourth quarter, you probably will. But like, if you don't have that going into the fourth quarter, like it's dead. Like, unless he like an super explosive play where he goes for 40, which is not very likely, it's dead. You can ride Jawan Jennings 14.5 receiving yards, and he's the next guy in. So it's Ayuk, it's Debo, and then it's Kittle's the number 3 receiving threat, but he would be technically your number 3 receiver. So he's going to see time. He's going to be on the field. He's got to catch the ball. So like we're right in there with the Odell Beckham train. Like it took Odell 3 plays to get the over, and he didn't play until the third quarter. So that lets that baby ride the whole way. We can get on that. And like Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns. Now, like I think it's a little different in this instance. Like we're talking about the Super Bowl. No one's holding anything back in the Super Bowl.
No.
Like, yeah, they haven't had like it's been under half their games where they've had more than 1 passing touchdown. This is the Super Bowl. Like all stops are going to be pulled. Like there's going to be throwing of the football in this game, and they both have receiving threats that can get them for sure one. They're going to get 1 touchdown. Do they get the other?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going probably.
Yeah. Juwan Jennings definitely gives me those OBJ vibes, and I'm loving it. I was a little nervous about it at first, but you get 1 or 2
it takes 1 ball.
Guarantee 14.5 yards. But
yeah, and he's played well recently as well. So like 14.5, I'm gonna ride that one.
I'm riding that all day. But that kind of wraps up our best bets for this Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. Our Chiefs and 49ers are facing off. Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, Taylor Swift is going to be in attendance. I frankly am not a Swiftie, but I know Reese here is
You hate Brock Purdy. You hate Taylor Swift. What else do you hate? You hate Christmas? You hate Santa?
I'm the Grinch. What I said. I'm the Grinch. Get me a T-shirt.
Are you betting? What unders are you betting in this Super Bowl, Drew? We talk about the overs. You seem like a guy right now that just wants to hammer the unders.
The only under I hit is under your bed.
All right. Hey, I'm gonna bring it up again. So maybe somebody else can try this out. I'm gonna how it goes. Jeez. All right. So all of these, everybody's got an over under of something. I'm just thinking, like, what are the odds of all of these players hitting the over is set to be like 50%. Like, this is kind of like slightly above where they normally are, just below what they would normally produce. Not everybody's going to have the game of their life during the Super Bowl. So, like, if you just bet all of the unders, like you're not going to bet under Christian McCaffrey rushing touchdown. You're not going to bet under Travis Kelce, like receiving yard. You're probably not going to do it because those are the guys that are going to eat. But it's all the other guys. It's like Justin Watson, Rashee Rice. Like, bet the under on those guys. Like, they're probably not going to maximize. Like, the list of guys hitting the under has to be bigger than the list of guys hitting the over. So I'm thinking, like, if you just hammered all the unders, what would your success rate be? So I'm not gonna do it. Maybe somebody else will. Let us know how it goes. But interesting betting strategy. I can't live like to watch bad football. Like, I want every point to score. Like, I'd be the guy that I'm gonna hit every over.
Right.
Hope it happens.
It's just a theory. Maybe
it's just a theory. I don't know.
Right. And maybe this is something we talk about in the off season, some betting theory, some stuff like that. We'll dive into it. But speaking of this off season, NFL off season, we're going to be in season for the UFL, and All Points Matter needs to be your home for UFL football. We are going to be diving into game recaps. We're going to be digging into betting. Our first game kicks off March 30th. The USFL champions Stallions and the XFL champions Arlington Renegades. This is going to be the start of new spring football that we haven't seen in a long time. We've seen a few different variations of the XFL. We've seen the USFL, new variations of this. But this year, there's something different. I can feel a difference in the air. We have Fox, ESPN, a wide range of sports channels that we can watch this on. And it's spring football. We love football. That's the whole reason we do this. So after the Super Bowl, you're going to catch a debrief from us on the Super Bowl. How did we do sports betting? But you'll also catch from us a complete breakdown of the UFL schedules and teams and coaches and players that might be standouts. And this here at All Points Matter needs to be your home so you get the most in-depth research and sports betting for the UFL.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited. Battlehawks, baby. They're going to win the whole thing, so I don't even know if we need to do like a season. Like the Battlehawks are going to just go to town. They're going to take care of business. They're going to go undefeated. They're going to score all the touchdowns. They're not going to give up any points. It's going to be the Battlehawks all the way. So, but we're going to be the place to be. We will have all the betting information. We will have all the statistics, roster transactions. We'll do all that work for you. You just come to us for it. And we've also got boots on the ground in a couple different areas. So I think we're going to be pretty excited. We're going to have a guy holding the snake in DC. So look, there's going to be great content coming around. So we're going to be the place to be. But first, we got to get to the Super Bowl. We're going to do the Super Bowl. We're going to enjoy it.
Yep.
We're going to recap it. We're going to live it. We're going to soak it all because we're going to remember how we felt last Sunday. That's all the Sundays we're staring down here in the future for a month. February 11th, a month and a half before football hits the field again.
That's
so
tough.
Let's enjoy this Sunday. Let's live it up. Let's remember what it was like to watch the Pro Bowl until they make it better. Let's remember how we felt then. We got about 5-6 Sundays to power through, and then we're live, baby. We're back. Boots on the ground in DC. We'll be all eyes in St. Louis, and then we'll figure out the rest of the league as we go. But
I love
it. It's going to be a good time.
It's been a pleasure doing business with you tonight, and I'm looking forward to really being your experts for the USFL this spring.
For sure. All these picks will be tweeted out probably by Saturday, and then we'll update you as we go. So if you aren't sure how these parlays are going, but mid-game you see us kind of raking in the cash as we go, feel free to jump on as we go. But we'll update them as we go. And if all else fails, both teams are red. Just bet the Gatorade color, please. Just do it. Just bet it. But yeah, we're in a good spot. Drew, have yourself a great Super Bowl weekend.
Absolutely, Reese. You as well. Enjoy it. Be where your feet are. And as always, peace.
All points matter.
All Points Matter. Catch us at All Points Matter Pod on TikTok and X, or Twitter, formerly Twitter. But we'll see you out there. Catch our bets. Catch our newest video posting next week.
Yeah. Side note, real quick. It's titled X, but if you search it in the search bar right now, Drew, it's still Twitter. So what really is it?
I don't know.
We can call it both. We can freely call it both. I'm pretty sure.
I think we can. I'll say it confidently, both.
At what point are we going to be the old stooges that don't change? And it's X for the younger generation, but for us, are we the Facebook generation?
Maybe.
Is Twitter, Facebook?
Maybe. All right.
We got to figure it out.
Well, sleep tight.
All points matter.
All Points Matter.